everyone. I'm Lauren Van Hemert. It's been a minute since I have done one of these live broadcasts, but I had to come out of hiding to talk about the joy fest that is the Raleigh Little Theater production of In the Heights. I saw it a couple of weeks ago. It's been extended through this weekend. I hope you will all buy your tickets. I'm so excited to chat with my guest today, Alfredo Hurtado, who is not only a veteran, a recipient of the Purple Heart, but he also plays Kevin Rosario in this amazing production. And I was so excited to have the opportunity to sit down and chat with him about his service, about how the arts heal, and about In the Heights. You were deployed after 9/11 to Afghanistan. Um, and then a couple of years later, you were sent to Iraq. What can you tell me about your time, your tours?
When I got there, it was like 3 months after Saddam had been captured. So I think things got a lot worse after that. And so we were supposed to be heading to Baghdad, but we ended up a little bit south of there, and FOB Kalsu in Alexandria, Iraq. I think I'm saying that right. And then the first night we got there, we took off our gear, they put us in these half shelf tents where it's half plywood but then half canopy over, and no beds, no cots, just a plywood floor with like a poncho liner and not much. And I just remember we're all just like kind of horsing around, kind of winding down from the long convoy. And as I put my head down, I hear a faint thud, and I never heard anything like it before. And then it was a mortar. We were just getting mortared all night, and so we ended up spending like the almost first week in a bunker, just trying to stay away from these mortars. And they were mortaring us at night, so we wouldn't get any sleep or anything. So that was my welcome to Iraq moment. It was with a beautiful mortar shower. And so at that moment, I kind of knew where this deployment was going. Like, it wasn't going to be easy. That's for sure. It wasn't going to be. It's definitely going to be hard, and I didn't know it was going to be really, really, really hard because just 2 weeks after being in Iraq, my Humvee was hit by a roadside bomb while I was out on patrol, and luckily the Humvee was still functioning, but it was pretty messed up, and everyone in my truck survived. Uh, some sustained some physical injuries, pretty severe physical injuries, and I had some physical ones. I took shrapnel to the head and to my face, just other parts of my body, but not as severe as the other guys. But they made it back. Everyone in my truck survived and made it back. And but it was just an intense story because it doesn't end right at the attack. I still have to make my way to Baghdad, and then I still from there I have to go somewhere else and then get flown to Germany. So meanwhile, while I'm flying in a helicopter, you just see all that muzzle flash coming in from the ground. So you're like, if this helicopter that's it's a medevac helicopter that's taking us to the hospital, hopefully if it crashes, it blows up. That's the kind of mentality you have, because I didn't want to get captured. I was like, I'd rather die than get captured. Um, so then there's that kind of you know drama that's unraveling besides getting attacked, and then finally making it into Germany, where it was just one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen when that back hatch of the C-141 opened up, and all I saw were just green mountains, and the sunshine. I felt more at peace, uh, just for a little bit until the trauma starts resurfacing. Um, but Iraq was definitely a very bumpy ride. We had lost our chow hall because of a mortar attack. So we were like barely eating anything, and our porta johns weren't. It's just kind of gross, but they weren't getting cleaned out because the locals that were helping us cleaning it out, were getting killed because they were helping us out. So it was a nightmare. It was a complete nightmare.
So you come home after your tour in Iraq, and you discovered dance, and and ultimately you start a dance company, the Black Box Theater. What is the what is the mission of this company, this organization, um, with the arts, with dance?
Well, our mission is healing through the art. We're just dancers. We're not therapists. We're not doctors, but we do believe art heals. I'm a subject matter, or and I'm also someone that's been studied, and I just seen how I've been able to turn around and make this moment that was so horrible in my life, to make it where you know um it's the, how do I want to say it, the spark, the ignition to start this conversation of how we talk about this. How do we um discuss and help people out without being so, hey, so tell me this and tell me that and tell me, it's hard to do that at first. I'm at a point in my life, like I said, ask me anything and I will talk about it, because I'm in a different place. I've found peace, and I don't have to deal with those demons like that. So with dance, oh goodness gracious, dance. Who wants to dance? Nobody wants to dance. It's terrifying. You have to be vulnerable in front of everybody, moving your body and different directions. But dance is an amazing tool to be human. And I started off in the dance company as a musician, as a composer, and I did that for about a year or so. And when I came in this dance company, I was like, I'm a rock star. I don't dance. I just stand there and I play my instrument. And then my artistic curator, who's Michelle Pearson, uh, she didn't see it that way. She was like, hey, can you partner up with that person over there? And if you've ever met this woman, it's like, how do you say no? Right. So that's kind of my introduction to dance. Was I did I guess it was my interview for the company, and this was before Black Box started. This was while Even Exchange and Dance Exchange were around here, and so I went to ECU and we did some different venues. Venue was like a halfway home for teenagers, and the senior home, and then the child ward at the hospital. And each one just impacts you differently, because it's just different people from different walks of life, different stories, and you're bringing dance to them, and you're like, I'm thinking to myself, if a couple walks in, a dancer and a musician, to this, I'm gonna be like, what the heck is going on? Like I'm just thinking of when I was really sick and when I was really, not doing well. I'd be like, what the hell is going on, right? And especially being an active duty soldier, because you have to have this machismo, mentality and personality, like, oh, whatever. So, but dance is like terrifying, right? to do it. And so I was like, okay, why is she making me do this? But I do want to do it because I can't say no to her, right? And so I do it. I get the bug. About a year later or so, I'm performing on the side of the stage, playing the instruments while everyone's dancing. And so I go to Michelle and I'm like, look, I want to dance. And she'd been waiting this whole time for me to do this. And she's like, let's go. And that was it. It just started taking off. I have been learning ways to well, I've learned how to tell my story without telling it, but now I could just say it, but it's, the ability to tell your story without having to talk or say words or use words that can trigger it. All our memories, we restore them in our brains, but they really happen to us in our bodies and they're still there. And so we need to release that. And that's what dance did for me. And also I have traumatic brain injury. I shouldn't remember anything, but the choreography and doing it over and over and over, just getting it into my body, that just changed so much. And now that I'm acting and doing theater, I have to tell you, to me that's like terrifying, truly, truly terrifying. A musical, right? You have to act, you have to dance, you have to sing, and you have to bring it. You have to bring it every night. So I was really scared of not remembering words, not remembering lines. Um, but I think through the process of dance, it has been able to, or has allowed me to develop a way to remember, to memorize lines, and I know that doing choreography over and over and over again, just instilling that discipline, and that's the other thing too. It's like, you look at the art world, and it's like, yeah, we may dress differently, a little more, colorful, and maybe loose, maybe tight, whatever it is. It's not so boxy. And but the art is so requires so much discipline, so much hard work, so much, you know dedication and patience, uh so much more for me than or just as equally as sports or being in the army, going through basic training, going through airborne school. My body had never felt so beat up than when I started dancing, using muscles that I've never even thought of. And you know, you're I mean, I'm lifting people up, I'm catching people, so I am kind of like responsible for their lives at this moment too, so I don't want to hurt anybody. So for me, it was like the perfect fit. Dance is definitely was the perfect fit, and it gave me the confidence to be where I'm at today with theater.
I love this so much. You mentioned Kevin, so let's jump into In the Heights. This is a glorious production. I went in skeptical. I've seen I was obsessed with the movie In the Heights last summer or whenever
Mhm.
it came out. I really felt it was this gift given to us after COVID, to see it on the big screen. It actually got me out of my house into a movie theater, which I never thought would happen again.
I know, I
Um,
know.
and and I had seen a professional production of it, but there's something, there's so much heart in this production at Raleigh Little Theater. There's so many people making their stage debuts. You're making your musical theater debut on that stage. What has this experience meant to you?
Hmm. Let's just say Patrick Torres. I mean, he just right, like he just knew who to pick. He just had this vision, and when we all first like sang that first time together, we did, In the Heights, the opening number. Michael was giving us our parts, and I think it was like an hour into it, and then we sang In the Heights, and it was like after, like I have hair, like my hairs are standing up right now, but after singing it, I was like, what just happened? Like, wow, that sounded like, it was like, if it heaven, right? It sounded like heaven. It was just everybody's voices together was just perfect. So, from that point on, it was like a couple weeks into it, we just started all like hanging out together, and doing some karaoke nights and just kind of building a community. And I think that's what Patrick wanted, and I think that's what we all wanted, especially coming out of COVID. You know, being isolated for so long, and now we're doing this amazing production. It's just amazing. It's a carnival. It is. It's the Carnival del Barrio. It's just the players in this, not only on the stage, but costumes and props and the lighting. It just brings it alive. And the stage, just our little neighborhood, Abuela's stoop and Usnavi's store, and my sign, my beautiful sign that comes down, right? It just it sometimes I'm performing and I'm looking at the other performers and I'm like, is this really happening right now? Like, it just let's pinch me. Somebody pinch me because this is incredible.
What has Kevin taught you about being a dad? About being Kevin, being your character? You play Kevin
Mhm.
Rosario, the patriarch.
Yeah, somewhat.
For people who aren't familiar,
Mhm.
the papa. What has he taught you about being a dad, um, being a husband, and your wife Camilla?
Ugh,
She's tough in this.
ugh.
She has a moment.
Yeah, she
um,
does. My favorite.
what
They
has
say.
Kevin taught you?
um, Kevin, what has he taught me? So there are a lot of similarities between Kevin and I. Not as far as the yelling goes. Being in the service, being from Jersey, and growing up, you just kind of like adapt all those not good, you know, behaviors, and so I yelled a lot. So with Kevin, I kind of like related with. Um, what has he taught me? I think we learned the same lesson is that we have no control. Number one, especially of our teenage daughters. I mean, it'd be ridiculous to say if you had any control over a teenage daughter. Um, so and then, but we have that same personality that will do anything for our family. Um, and then the part with Benny, I definitely wasn't like that. Um, I felt like if I pushed her more, like to get away from boys, that she would probably latch on to that more. But also, um, I was very, very, very involved in my daughter's life. Like I may have set the standard way too high for how the man is going to treat her, because she's not going to find that, right. But I have been human throughout this process, so I was not perfect whatsoever. So she doesn't want a guy who yells, but she definitely wants, you know, maybe a guy that cooks, right? Or that's. But and then listening, and I think Camila has similarities to the way my wife is. I think my wife, she was, we had a moment like that where it was like, enough. And it was after her freshman year of college, and I think it's that whole thing of, she's a woman, she's experiencing life, and she's gonna mess up like I messed up, and like, you know, and my wife messed up, and we don't want to see that happen. I'm sorry, something came up on my screen. Okay, and I don't want that, to happen. So, but my wife has taught me, and just being in the play, just listening, just listening and not knowing everything, not having the answers, and just being new and open to the conversation.
Another um, really beautiful part of this piece is that there is so much representation on stage. There are generations of actors on stage, all a, a lot of people of color, a lot of Latinx performers. And it is so beautiful to see that. I think that's one of the reasons why Lin-Manuel Miranda's work on main stages resonates so much, because it's a celebration of black and brown bodies, Latinx bodies that you don't see on stage often enough. Um, do you think that dance or even music perhaps is more accepting and inclusive of marginalized communities than theater or even TV or film? Because I think representation is so important. And I feel like maybe in the dance world, we celebrate different cultures and honor different cultures more freely than we do with what we see on stage or in mass media.
Uh, yeah, and I think there's just the what do you call it, the genre, or what you want to call it, of sorry, I'm trying to put my thought together.
You're okay.
Thank
Take your
goodness we're
time.
recording this. Yeah,
We're recording.
yeah. Um, so I think traditionally with acting and with theaters, especially here in this country, the majority of the actors have always been white, and so they would have to portray some sort of nationality, whatever it was, and that was just the time. And but I think with music and dance, you always had there was always this accessibility where you had your Latinx clubs and your African American clubs, and you had jazz, and you had your mambo or whatever where it is. So there was always this thing where everyone had their place in that and where they can go. But I think if if you're talking about like a grander thing where you're performing at Carnegie Hall, I think even with dance and music, it's mostly been uh, for predominantly Caucasian, unless you're doing something specific like a salsa group or African dance or something like that. So now with theater, I think there's no excuse of someone who is Colombian should play, or a Hispanic part, a Latinx part, and or it goes with any other nationality or culture, because I mean we have the abundance of that here. You walked outside and you see people from different origins and different places, different cultures, and I know there's a lot of actors out there, or artists, of different cultures, different colors.
Well, and that is, it is a celebration. It is, like I said, the only word I can use to describe this production is joy, and there is a joyfulness in seeing this kind of community celebration on stage. It's just, I think about it and I smile. I think I smiled for 2.5 hours under my mask at Raleigh Little Theater. It just is such a beautiful show, and I hope it's been extended. I hope everyone will try to get tickets this weekend. I want to ask you, you mentioned dance is terrifying, and I think there is such a stigma for boys in dance. I know my son fell in love with theater and dance as a young person. And as he got into his teenage years, he felt tremendous pressure that this just wasn't cool. So, what would you say to those young men, those boys out there who love dance, who love performance? but perhaps feel othered by family, by their peers, or they're getting in their own way because they feel afraid or ashamed.
Oh, I get it. I understand, especially growing up in the 80s and the 90s, in that culture. I think we're today it's let's see. What would I say? What would I tell a young boy to do? I'd be like, hey, look, um, I jumped out of planes. I've been to combat twice. I played soccer my whole life, and the hardest thing I've ever done was dance. I mean, it is. You have to be physically fit. You have to be mentally sharp, and you have to have a open mind, an open mind to allow yourself to take in all this stuff of the world and create something with it. And you don't want to miss anything, right? But usually, people who say things that are negative or have something negative to say about a man dancing or whatever is because honestly, maybe they want to dance too, and maybe they just need an opportunity to for it to be presented to them in a different way, in a different package. Uh, but but dancing is not easy. It's one of the hardest sports I've ever participated in, and it healed me. And here's another thing. I do this program called the Warrior Reset, which is done by the USO, and we go to Camp Lejeune, we go to Fort Bragg, Seymour Johnson, we go to these big military bases, and the first time I did it, I was like, wow, this is why am I here? Why are a bunch of dancers on Camp Lejeune right now? And I got to tell you something. After our workshops, it's like you see these big bad troops. Some crying, some just like hugging and laughing, and they were like, we never thought we could do this. And so having that accessible to them, to everybody, not just our service members, to any human being that's breathing air on this planet, have the ability to move and tell your story and connect with people. I mean, it should be a no brainer at this point.
And I put up, I think sharing resources, your company, Raleigh Little Theater, of course, and this Warrior Reset program is so important. So
Thank you for sharing that.
on the bottom of your screen, and then I will put links. I will put links as well to all of everything we're discussing in the notes following this program so people have access to that. Um, what do you hope people will get from seeing this production of In the Heights? And you only have till Sunday, so go, go,
I
go.
know,
Get
I
your
know. You
tickets.
have to go.
Press
You have to
pause on this program.
go.
Get your tickets.
Yes.
What do you hope people will get out of seeing this production?
Um. So basically, it is the story of every person on this planet, right? You have to get up in the morning. You have to put on your pants one leg at a time, or shorts, or whatever it is that you wear. You have to drink your coffee if you're a coffee drinker, or have your ritual in the morning to start your day. Um, maybe some differences are is that I'm thinking about it in two different languages. Thinking about and so there's not much difference between us humans as far as day to day things in life, and we suffer as much as the next person, and we celebrate as much as the next person. And we just need to be reminded that we're human beings and we go through these moments and experiences. And if we're fortunate enough to be alive after it, then there's a purpose for that. And if you share your story with someone, hopefully it inspires them to save their save their life.
If you went to DPAC and you love Hamilton and you haven't seen a live production of In the Heights, this is the time. This is the place. It is it's a joy fest. So you have till Sunday to see it. Tickets are limited. So go to RaleighLittleTheater.org, get your tickets. And Alfredo, I just hope to see you on stage again in the theater. I will come support the dance. I'm not. I don't always understand dance, but I will come and I will enjoy your work wherever you are because you're just such a amazing person to talk to. So thank you for your service. Thank you for being in this fantabulous show, and thank you for all the work you're doing for so many people who've served this country. It's truly amazing. So thank you, and thank you for hanging out with me this afternoon.